Hello, hello, everybody. This is Drew and JC, and we are here again with another fantastic episode we have lined up for you. It's been a crazy night trying to get it started. Without further ado, I'm just going to kick it
I
over to the
I got,
guest,
I
let
got to
him
say one
introduce
thing real quick. I
himself.
forgot to I forgot to hit record before playing the intro. Take two. No, we're good. We're good. I'll put it in.
It's a comedy of errors, but uh, wow, we'll just kick it over to the guest here. Let him introduce himself, and you guys know the drill.
Well, hello, I'm Ferenc Gregor of Things Forsaken, and JC and Drew, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. And so before we get deep into movie conversation, while I was having my tech issues, you and JC were having a conversation about bone sculpting, and I think we should maybe start with that a little bit because it's super interesting, and you can kind of see the bones in the background there.
Yeah, there's a few of them here and there.
How did you get into that?
Originally getting into bone carving itself, I used to do a lot of flat works, and I did some what I refer to as modeling, working in clays, things like that. Back when I was very young, school, high school, stuff like that, and wanted to work more dimensionally. And my dad was he was a big deer hunter, so he'd always have some old antlers laying around and stuff. And I had found a small little hand engraving tool, and I decided to give it a go and start working dimensionally. And I enjoyed it, liked doing it. Started working in that and other materials, other types of bone. And the thing about bone and everything like that is it was very accessible, and you could get it for free a lot of times, so you didn't have to pay for the substance materials most of the time, at least back then. And after so many years of just doing it, I decided that I wanted to try to pursue um, more than just a hobby. It's one of those things, like a lot of hobbies that you get into, a lot of interests you have, that at some point you grow it big enough that it needs support. And so I'm either going to bleed support from something else for that, or you hit that turning point to where you decide, okay, this has to support itself. So we go there to where starting to sell bone carvings and doing it enough, and then moving on to where you finally get tired of everything else, and that's what you want to be doing. And then we make the transition into, okay, this is supporting itself. Now it needs to support me as well.
Yeah, right on. And so how do you get to that final stage? Uh what from the beginning to that final stage, uh like is that like an Etsy shop kind of thing that you do, or do you like
No,
hit up
many
conventions or
years ago, I actually, I had some stuff up on Etsy. Etsy never really did a whole lot for me. Not to put it down, it does great for some people. For me, and we're talking 30 years ago, at least, back then when I started doing it. eBay internet sales were one of the larger things at the time. Etsy and some of the other platforms, weren't even really around. I did a lot of shows. I did Renaissance festivals as a carver and a sculptor for 25, 30 years. I used to travel about 7, 8 months out of the year. We would have a route that we go. I used to do the galleries in Santa Fe and Taos. I'd go out there for 6, 7 months and supply the galleries and do shows there, and some online sales a little bit as the internet started to grow. Again, we're talking 30 some years ago.
it's it's pretty it's pretty interesting. I have honestly never heard of it until you were talking about it, at least in regards to the stuff that you're doing.
Yeah,
And
well, bone carving is here in the US, it's a long, long craft, especially like antler carving, custom knife makers, reenactors, black powder, a lot of the old historical roots that we have. You were carving antlers, you were carving bone, horn, other things. Coming from other countries across the pond and in Europe and everything else, it goes even farther back, of course, because their history is a lot older than ours. Musical instruments, all your bridges, your various things in the bows, the violins, cello bows. There's bone implements in many, many instruments, and that has been for quite a while. That includes some of the ivories, and ivories are an extremely controversial and emotional subject. I work in fossil ivories, and the only modern ivory that I work in anymore now, and I was never a big elephant ivory person to begin with, but that's a whole different conversation as far as what we hear and what's really happening. But we work in warthog ivory, the warthog tusk. That is illegal ivory, and it's taken from the government culling programs to where they're picking up the dead, weeding out the sick, and all those monies goes back for propagation of the herds. There's CITES too, and that's how those programs work.
That's I know I'd never even considered that you could get ivory from that. And I mean, it's my understanding that those are kind of a maybe not invasive, but a problematic species. It's like they're
Warthogs, Pumbaa meets the bone carver. So, if we're going with Disney cartoons with everything, it's like, yeah, they don't behave that way.
yeah. Uh, okay, yeah, that's interesting. I just wanted to
You're
ask
telling me
about
they
that
aren't
because,
nice and sing songs?
Yeah, Mhm.
but yeah. So yeah, obviously you're like a talented and artistic guy.
That's just a rumor I started.
Yeah. Well, I just heard it from you about 20 minutes ago. So how does that kind of how do you find yourself making movies if
Um,
that
for me, it's another medium to work in. We have the web series for Things Forsaken, where the web series that we have on YouTube, it's called Storytime Just Got Real. And the reason that we call it that is we're doing short films. Myself and other people that I do bring in are actors and artisans as well. So when we do the short films, of course, we're portraying characters, but anything that you see being crafted in those shorts is literally being crafted live by the characters while we're filming the short film. So it was a different way to approach that. I work also with a group of people called Man at Arms. The Man at Arms team, Man at Arms Reforged on the web. We had the TV series running on the El Rey channel. Robert Rodriguez was behind that, and that was Man at Arms Art of War, and that ran for quite some time. And I was the carver for that team. And a lot of that kind of thing, like History Channel style, is done very what we call documentary style. Hey, Ferenc, what are you working on? And I'll explain to it while you watch me do some of the craft. And I wanted to do something very different. I love acting. I was in musical theater for quite some time and theater for quite some time. But filmmaking gives me a chance to take everything that I like to create with different mediums, be it film, music, acting, the hands-on sculptor craft, props, what have you, creative writing, all at the same time.
so where do you draw your inspiration then most when you're collaborating on some of these short films? Yeah, I know like you're definitely a music guy. You talked about Deep Purple, about 10 minutes ago or so. Um, so where do you just like the where do you draw that source of inspiration to create that art, when
For the
you're doing this?
shorts, for the web series, for the shorts, there's a bunch of factors that will go into that. Those things that you see us create in those films are our products that we do have available for sale. So that's one of the things that helps support being able to do the films and that part of the studio. A lot of the inspiration for that is I like to continue to challenge myself. Sometimes I'll come up with just a strange idea, and go, oh, I can start little things pop in my head and I can create a whole story around it. But it also has to be dialed in for something I can continue to viably create as a product, not just a one off and that's the end of it. Because we take these things out to events, appearances, shows, and they are available for people to purchase. So there's a few factors that go into it.
Faces of the Undead, I have to ask, are you a fan of the Faces of Death franchise at all?
Faces of Death. It's a shocker documentary thing. I remember watching the very first one when it came out, and I invited a couple of friends I was in a band with at the time over, and I made sure I made spaghetti and then just put the video on while everybody was watching. It's
Yeah.
it's strange, actual real gore doesn't really it doesn't turn me on at all to see any of that stuff. From a forensic point of view, a film like that doesn't really give you the study. It's pure shocker. So yeah, for me, it's like honestly, it really doesn't do a whole lot for me.
Yeah, I've noticed that, like, as I've gotten older, I don't revisit that as much as I used to. Um, well, I mean, I discovered it back in the video store days, when I'm a kid, and all of my other friends are like watching, Disney movies or whatever. And then you got like that small group of friends who are like, oh, dude, check this out, man. People die in this for real. And, you go watch it. And we had this thing. There was a website when we were growing up called, I think it was something rotten, where you'd get on there and it was just like all,
Rotten.com.
yeah, man. So, growing up, I was far more into that kind of grotesque stuff than I am now. Like, if I see something like that now, it skeeves me. I don't know if that's just like aging or becoming wiser, getting older.
It's different for everyone. For me, yeah, I mean, the older that I've gotten over the years, the less shock value that has. I mean, I'm pushing 64. I've seen a lot of things. I've seen a lot of things in person. Some of the things you would probably put in a film like that, unfortunately. Different situations in my life, and it's like life is too doggone precious, man. For me to get turned on by see that happen to someone.
Yeah, no, and then when it does happen now, it's all over Twitter for a month, and you can't open your phone without seeing 100 reaction videos to it,
Right.
and then it's like, oh man, if you watch this angle, it's all completely fake, or if you watch this angle, there's like conspiracies, and man, I don't know if I could see this person die one more time. It's like,
It's like as soon as somebody finds out you ride motorcycles, they got 20 stories of horrible things that happened to someone, you know?
yeah. The only person that I've ever really known that had a motorcycle, funny story, a guy, his name was Manly, and he had one leg because he was hit while he was driving it, but he continued to ride up until like the day he died.
Dig it.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah, the motorcycle that you see in that little teaser for Faces Part 2, that's my motorcycle.
right on. Yeah. I like bikes, but I've never been on one. I did walk into a store once and pretended like I knew what I was talking about because I watched Sons of Anarchy. It was actually super comical. Like, me and my buddies left there just feeling like the biggest dickheads.
Yeah, I rode pro motocross when I was much, 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 much younger. Rode a little bit on the street over the years, and then I actually broke my neck on the street many, many years ago, back in the '80s. And I think it was just maybe about 3, 4 years ago. It's just I just got this hankering that I wanted a motorcycle again. So haven't ridden in 40 years. I figured I'd go ahead and get an old Royal Enfield military with a sidecar. That should be an adventure.
Yeah.
So that is the Necro sled from Part 2.
Yeah, that's cool.
If
I'm
it means
partial.
anything, I have a 1985 Honda Elite scooter.
Oh.
He does. I'm
Probably
jealous
worth
of
a
it.
few bucks, man, for a vintage elite like that.
It might be. It's way too loud for what it is. And if somebody obviously it's not like a motorcycle, but I pretend it's like this fierce beast when I'm on it going to like Giant Eagle to pick up some lettuce and sweet potatoes.
Dig it.
Sweet potatoes. This is like the worst, like the most normie thing to say, but I've always really liked Indian bikes.
You know, if
And
I was ever going to get a big cruiser, that would be my thing. An old Indian Chief with a suicide ball shift and everything, like a 32, 43 Indian, something like that. But
yeah,
things are going okay with the studio and my work and everything, but they ain't doing that okay. Man, you can almost do that nowadays with all the 3D printing type stuff that's out there, man. You can print metal, chocolate, all kind of crazy things.
yeah, that's a good point. I never considered building a bike like that. Throw up a sissy bar on it and everything.
Hmm.
Yeah, everything I know about bikes, I know from watching documentaries. Like 20 years of American Chopper.
Dig it.
Yeah. So what kind of movies are you into? Obviously, so you didn't really dig the Faces of Death, but like, what do you enjoy?
Horror films, I watch, honestly, people think I'm a really big horror film fanatic. I enjoy film. If it's a horror film in that genre that I enjoy, dig it. I watch all kind of things. I watch a metric blank ton of Disney movies because I have younger children right now still, and feel good movies. Just if it's a good film, I enjoy it. I don't watch a whole lot of horror films actually. For me, most of the mainstream horror that's out, especially big studio, is a lot of the kind of thing that's being done over and over. And unless there's something really different, unfortunately, they don't tend to hold my attention. Probably get
Yeah,
slapped for saying that, but hey, trying to be
I
honest here.
almost exclusively watch horror and Disney. Those are like the two things that I watch because I have a bunch of young kids. And so if it's like I'm either watching a kid movie or I'm finding some kind of horror movie, but I don't really, it doesn't have to be new. I spent a lot of time in 70s, 80s, 90s at the latest. I'm doing an article for a magazine right now on Mutant, which came out in 87, and it is like this. I don't know if you've seen it or not. It's on Tubi, and it's kind of like a zombie vampire thing,
Okay.
and it's super unique. I found it a couple of months ago and watched it, fell in love with it, and now Vinegar Syndrome's putting out a 4K. So
Hmm.
it was almost like meant to be that I found it, liked it
I
as
have to
much as
check
I
it
did.
out. I'm always
But
looking for something new, especially when we're in production and I'm writing. With the film, not particularly the web series because that's pretty dialed in because of the craft aspect and everything for the storylines as well. But for we're in production for Faces, and I'm actually slowly working on another film outside of Faces. Maybe we'll light that off one of these years. But I don't tend to watch a whole lot of other people's stuff in that same genre because I don't want to somehow subconsciously grasp hold of something someone else did that's original.
yeah, no, I get what you mean. It's difficult to kind of tread that line. We watched a film for this show about 8 months ago at this point, and there's a kill in it where somebody takes a like a faucet and stabs somebody with it, and then the blood comes out of the faucet. I've only ever seen that time, and one other movie from like the very early 80s. And
Hmm.
the way that they did it was unique, and I was like, oh man, I got to figure out how I can steal that because that's the coolest thing in the world. And I'm
Yeah, a
so
lot of
mad I
things.
didn't think of it first.
Well, a lot of things in film, just like music, all the sounds and all the notes have already been produced. We just rearrange them. You know, having things that you have not seen in a film before. One of the parts in Faces, probably just near the end, when the necromancer is in that alley with Vera, and he cuts her neck, and that was something that I'd never seen in film done before, to take some of her own blood and rejuvenate her by feeding it back to her, you know.
Yeah. So you're like super into music. Do you play? Like,
I made my contribution to the reason some people are really glad the 80s are over. Yeah.
do you do any of the music for
Yes,
the
actually, we score the entire Faces. We score the entire film all ourselves, composing it, scoring it all, recording it, performing it, editing it down, everything. Yeah. So, yeah, you can't see it from here. All my guitars are hanging up there, and the keyboards over there, and I think there's one of the behind the scenes, the making of the Memento Mori vampire episode on the YouTube, that kind of goes through that we're doing some of the music and everything for that, and I get a chance to work with some really, really, really talented people. Fortunately, some really high caliber musicians and everything.
yeah, that's
But
cool.
everything you hear in Faces, we composed, scored, recorded, performed everything all ourselves. Sound effects, music, everything.
What do you prefer to play as far as your guitars go? Yeah, what's your brand?
I have what is that thing? I have an old Alvarez, and I have two Ovations. I've got a Celebrity Shallowback Legend, and I have a an old 19484 Ultra.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I don't have, like, big, giant, long finger hands, so the Ovation, you know, they have a really narrow, skinny neck, so, I can actually get around a little bit. I don't consider myself a guitar player. I'm a guy that plays guitar. To me, a guitar player in that sense is someone that I can say, "Okay, you know, give me some jazz in B flat, you know,
Yeah.
you know, I wanna go 2/4 time to 4/4 time," you know, and they can jump in and start giving me something. Our trumpet players, that you hear in Faces, my main trumpet player, especially, Daniel Lee of Daniel Lee Studios, amazing. I mean, just amazing. Sean, who plays the waiter in part 1 that you see very briefly, and he has a larger part in part 2. Sean is also a, very talented musician, and, Sean I get with Sean and lay down some of the bare bones and everything, and Sean would take it and actually create a lot of the different instruments with his technology, play those instruments, record the different tracks, and then we send them off to Daniel, and a couple hours later, Daniel sends me back trumpet tracks, and I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, hand me a towel."
Yeah, I wish I was better at playing things. I just cannot grasp it. Like there's something that stops me from being able. I'll noodle, but that's the extent of it. I can't do. I know JC plays a little more proficiently than I can, but 2 years ago
Well,
before my last kid
quote
was
unquote
born.
proficiently.
You know, if I spent as much time playing air guitar all my life and actually had a guitar in my hand, I'd be a virtuoso by now, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. I have a lot of Ibanez guitars. I have two bass, and I have a 6 string and a 7 string. The 7 string's pretty new to me. But I basically just play open chord, like death core. So it's just like it's not anything
Right.
crazy.
You know, it's interesting you say that part. I have to write a short piece of Hungarian death metal for part 2.
That's
Wait,
piques our interest.
yeah, yeah. Hold up, wait.
Speaking of,
Yeah, I'm into that. I'm gonna have to look up Hungarian death metal bands now.
Yeah.
yeah, I know 1 or 2, I can't think of the names of them off the top of my head.
I haven't fallen into that subgenre yet. I listen to a lot of like
Monastery.
European stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I just wish I could hit that bass like Steve Harris, like that's and I can't. And I'm never going to be able to. So it just it breaks my heart. I'm never gonna be as good as Iron Maiden.
Yeah, I just went to a concert a week or so ago. Went to see Apocalyptica and the Who, HU, who
Yeah, yeah,
The Mongolian throat singing metal guys.
yeah. I like them.
Yeah, they're pretty wild.
I've heard that they're pretty good live.
They
Well,
are,
it's
man. You know,
something.
it's like the first time I saw them was a very, very small club. So it was pretty up close and personal. And I was like looking for escape routes because I thought these guys were gonna like start charging through there with horses or something, man.
It's good. It's good to
Yeah.
see a show like that when it's good music, it's played live, and you're afraid you're gonna get trampled by horses. Like that's
Right?
that's probably the best kind of show that you can go to.
Yeah, and Apocalyptica, of course, if you know who those guys are, and they are just amazing, man, just amazing. You were talking about you're going to planning on going to Croatia. Maybe you'll get a chance to see 2 cellos over there. That's their hometown.
It is, and I actually follow them on Facebook.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Yeah, it's trying to think of their names. It's like Luca and
Hauser.
Stefan or something like that.
Yeah, Luke and Hauser.
Yeah,
Stefan Hauser.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah,
And they
familiar
did
at all.
they do like a lot of like Facebook covers where like they do like 80s pop songs. They've done like I
mhm.
think they've done
Yeah.
Smooth Criminal.
Yeah, that was one of
Um
that was like their first video that came out was Smooth Criminal. Yeah, they do a lot of covers and but they do a lot of classical and orchestrate music as well. And it's gorgeous. It's just breathtaking with those guys. Some of the cello work in Faces is and I don't play cello, so I drive my poor girl Liz insane when we're composing cello stuff for the episodes. She is a chamber orchestra cellist, very talented, but she does not play by ear. And it's been more than a minute since I could sight read music. So I'll sit there and play the notes, the compositions and everything and work with her. And then she'll write down the staff and she needs to see the staff paper to play the cello. If I take it away, unless it's something she's played 100 times, she has to be able to sight read it for now play. She doesn't really play by ear. So I drive her nuts with that kind of stuff because we're composing and you know, she'll ask me, well, I can do it this way or this way or this way. And of course, my greedy behind, you know, I'm like, I want it all 3 ways. And then let's change time signatures right in the middle. You know,
Do you have a studio that you guys record in, or are you just kind of doing it in
You know, it depends on what we're recording. The stuff that Sean was doing, sometimes when we're putting this stuff together, we're recording it in different places. A lot of it, I will record my pieces and my things, the guitar works, uh, some of the bare bones tracks, things like this that I'm composing, and I'll do that right here in my office because I don't have to mic everything out. I can plug right in except for some of the acoustics that are not electric acoustics. And I just have to make sure that I have good, you know, good silent area, and then I set it up to record that. Daniel Lee records his mostly in his studio where he teaches. Sean Sokolowski, he has his little studio area set up where at his house where he lives. So, you know, we'll send email tracks all over the place and people will do those and then we'll bring them all back together and you know, finalize and mix everything.
been waiting for music, I feel about 2 years now, so I could lay some vocal tracks on it, and it just has not shown up in my email yet.
Hmm.
JC. It is a slow, uh, progression on that project,
it's a
but
methodical process. It takes time.
so, you have a s crowdfunder link here. Is that something that is still active that people
You
can.
know, I got to look at it. I can't remember what the shut off date was at as I believe it is still active right now, hopefully.
Oh, yeah,
um
I was
It is still active.
yeah,
I have it up right now. It is active until I just had it. Come on. It has quite a few days left. 33
33
days left.
days. Okay, we may even go ahead and extend it now that we're in production for part 2. We've gotten some support um for, you know, coming into part 1 and we're grateful for it. Um You know, if you'd like to or if you can, you know, we've got some great perks and everything from the film and copies of the film as well. So you know, yeah, if you know if anybody wants to donate or but we're still, you know, some people don't do their films, independent film, unless they reach their goal. Unless they
Mhm.
make all the money that they say they want to do, they're not even going to green light the film. Faces doesn't work like that. We made part one, and we are making part two. And I am primarily funding the entire production. So whatever support and help we get, thank you. But that's not how it works for us. We're not going to toss it just because we don't reach a certain goal.
Sure. I think sometimes people get a little bit scared with the crowdfunding stuff because they feel like they're throwing their money at an open pit sometimes that doesn't go anywhere. But like when you have projects like what you just said, where it doesn't matter, you know, you give us $1, you give us 200, we're still going to make the movie. I think that reinforces a reassurance with people that would be donating, because I say this as somebody who's like super nerdy about like tech and like retro video games and stuff. I've donated a lot of money to different campaigns in the past and they never came to fruition. And I was reimbursed for a lot of those, and like I
It's
was
like
never ripped off
Kickstarters.
or anything. Yeah, the whole Kickstarter thing. And like I was never ripped off or anything. Like I'm not saying that, but I think sometimes people are a little bit just cautious about donating money to things. But the movie's gonna be made no matter.
Yes, we are in production. We've right now we've probably got roughly 20 some minutes in the can for part two. Part two will be longer than part one was. So we're probably looking at roughly around an hour and a half total for both parts to combine for the anthology. But yeah, we're roughly around 20 some minutes in the can right now for part two, and we still got quite a ways to go.
how do you break down your shoot schedules?
Usually just beat my head in the wall a whole bunch. Yeah,
Yeah.
scheduling is one of the craziest things. It all depends on you know, finances, you know, gathering the finances. Everyone else's schedules. I tend to work with the same crew. Some people in film will just bring in whoever's available for whatever parts of crew. If they're DPs, you know, anything from DPs to PAs, what have you. I like to work with the same people all the time. And I have been working with the same people. Since the beginning of since even before Faces came out. So it depends on their schedules as well. It depends on cast, location schedules. You know, it's herding cats. It always is. And then, you know, every once in a while, you know, I try to show up and convince my family that I'm still a part. So there's my schedules as well. Um, Things Forsaken is one facet of what I do. I have another studio, the mother studio, which is called Sobras Studio. Again, Hungarian stuff. That came before Faces. That's the big primary, and that's more of a mainstream thing. There is a bit of overlap, but due to some of the clientele with Sobras Studio, I do kind of keep them separate.
What kind of stuff do you do with that studio?
Sobras Studio, again, bone carving. A lot of the bone carving stuff, but a lot of the subject matter is more mainstream. A lot of monument work, both commemorative monument, live rock, dead rock, um, some very large monument contracts, high profile stuff, and public contracts, things of that nature.
That's cool. So we might have visited some of your work somewhere out there in the world.
Yeah, yeah. There's some public stuff out there. Some stuff I've worked with other companies in collaboration. The Billie Holiday Memorial in Baltimore. Some of the 9/11 memorials here in Maryland. Um, One of the a very big high profile memorial for the Department of Defense, which is in a secured area, but you can look it up. It's called They Served in Silence. It is the National Cryptologic Memorial. Um, yeah, there's a picture. That's an old picture. I'm so bad about updating my website. Um, doing Carrera marble carving at the. I want to say that's probably in Pennsylvania at one of the Ren Fair events many years ago.
This site is best viewed by Internet Explorer.
Yeah, it's been a minute since I've even been on that. Mostly nowadays, I kind of use that as a landing spot uh, for clients and everything, and then I'll steer them over to to Facebook or this and that, where you can see a lot more photos and pictures and stuff like that. Those are all. That's a big panel of. That was actually a piece for the Save the Mustang Foundation. That's all Carrera marble, big giant panel.
Oh yeah, there's a whole gallery here that anybody can go and check out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I got to
for
update.
sure.
Those are oh my gosh, those are so old. I don't even know if I can get into that site anymore. It's been so long. It has been. You know, I am so buried with everything else that keeping up with some of that. Like I said, that particular site I kind of use as a landing spot for someone so they can find me.
I know what that's like. I don't. We are on every single platform, and I have just kind of reduced myself to posting on Facebook because it's so difficult just to keep up with, like, well, here's the Instagram and here's the TikTok, and I created a Substack recently, and don't forget you got to post on YouTube. So yeah, man, you got to just condense it, figure out a way I could type it one time, and then it could just go everywhere. Yeah.
Right. And
Um,
the Sobradov Studios site is not a sales site, as you can see. There's no buttons. You don't buy anything there. You have to call me, and then we can discuss projects in that nature. For the things and for the film, for Things Forsaken, of course, Facebook, everything else. But we actually have a website, www.thingsforsaken.com, which is set up as a sales site for items, the film discs, and that. So, you can just go ahead and click and buy there.
I saw also because I was looking at the crowdfund page. You have three movies for $20 horror night, or you have part one world premiere.
Yeah, originally part one premiered at the Waynesboro Theater, a gorgeous little historic theater in Waynesboro, PA. There was a Matt Burns and some other people we work with. They put on what's called Mini Movie Mania, and so it was a full day of short films, and then there were three features that were premiering. Faces premiered that day as one of the features.
That's cool. How far away are you from Waynesboro? You said you're in
Like an hour.
Maryland.
Yeah, it takes me about an hour to get up there, roughly. I
I
think hour and a half. So
I'd have to look it up, but I don't think I'm far from there. I wish I'd known about that. I would have went to this.
there is another one coming up. They're going to do another one. Mini Movie Mania. In Waynesboro. I don't recall off the top of my head. I've slept since. I've seen the posts last for the date. But there'll be some great short films there and everything. And it's a great little town. There's the Crispy Biscuit right across the street, a little diner.
I'm gonna have to pay closer attention to this. I'm only 2 hours away.
Cool.
Yeah, I might have to check this out. Yeah, 'cause I don't know. It dawned on me. I only live like an hour away from there, from a piece of Maryland. Actually, like
Hmm.
I've
Western Maryland then. Where
yeah,
are you?
I live by Altoona, PA,
Oh, okay.
State College area.
Okay.
Yeah, Cumberland is closer to me than some areas that I drive to on the regular basis.
Yeah, Cumberland's gonna be over Western Maryland. That's a bit of it's a couple hours at least or so from me.
Yeah, are you gonna have anything at all at
I
the
don't
next
know.
one?
I Faces Part Two. I don't know if we're gonna have that wrapped and ready. And that's gonna be the full feature. Next time that we screen Faces, we're going to be screening parts 1 and part 2. So I think, the upcoming event for Waynesboro is gonna be all shorts. I don't have anything currently. I was thinking about maybe going ahead and doing a short, to be able to put in there. I think I will probably be in some of the 1 or at least 1 or 2 of the films that are there because, I'm also cast in a couple other people's productions, and, one of them is already released, and I'm pretty sure that one's gonna be at, up at Waynesboro. Every once in a while, somebody does get me to act in their films.
How did what's that like for you, as far as that goes? For me, I've only ever done it one time, the film is called Zombie Beast of the Confederacy, and I'm pretty sure I've only ever acted in other than that in things that I've written and directed myself, and it was kinda, a different experience for sure.
It is different. I enjoy it. I love acting. I'm working faces and, directing, writing, blah, 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 and doing all the wearing a bunch of the hats for faces is one thing on this side of the glass, but I'm used to being in front of the camera as well, not just my own stuff, especially, I was Man at Arms has been around quite a long time. So I'm really familiar with being in front of the camera. Acting and everything for me, it's one of those weird things, like, I don't like hearing my own voice. I like character acting, creating characters, different accents, what have you, special effects, makeups, things of that nature. Yeah, it's acting for me in that sense, it's a fun opportunity to step outside of myself day to day, so to speak, and create, develop a whole 'nother persona and, get to be that for a little while.
Yeah, it's definitely I hate my voice too. It kind of blows my mind on a daily basis that people listen to podcasts that I host because I have the worst Pennsylvania accent. And until I don't know, a year and a half into this podcast, I didn't even realize it. I thought that like our accent was just completely made up and people who exaggerated. It's like, oh yeah, you're from Pittsburgh. I could tell just from hearing your dumb
Oh, yeah.
voice. And no, actually, yeah, I sound like I grew up in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, my girl Liz, the cellist I was mentioning, she's a Pittsburgh girl. Yeah.
Yeah,
But it's the same thing. You get up into just different areas, and there's different nuances and dialects to all that stuff. And to me, that's really interesting. So when I see a film that is set in a certain area, I want to study. Okay, well, how do those people talk if that's where he's from? And try to get a little more in depth in developing that character. It's kind of like going up to Pennsylvania. If you go to Lancaster and you actually say that, they know you're a tourist right away because
yep,
it's Lancaster. You know?
yeah. Yeah, that's actually not super far from me either. That's, probably about a 2-hour drive. Yeah, I just live right in the center of PA.
Dig it.
Eh, yeah, it's like I'm within driving distance of all that. I cannot stand having Amish people as neighbors. No offense to them, but getting stuck behind one of I'm driving, by the way, from Ohio to PA, last time I'm in Ohio, and this tractor trailer right in front, like maybe I'm falling a little too close, but I'm driving pretty safe. And suddenly this thing, man, it slams on its brakes and it like T-bones and goes sideways. And they hit an Amish buggy and I didn't see it until like I had to like speed out around this thing before it took
Oh,
like
man.
the top of my car off. And when I finally I get around this thing, and there's just an explosion of Amish buggy and just one lone horse running down the road. And yeah, that's sad with me. Like, there's a horror movie just based off of that scenario that's been in my head. I
Yeah.
can't wait to put,
Yeah, we
but
used to do the Renaissance Festival up in PA, and, yeah, we'd be running late on our way to the fair in the morning from our hotel or what have you, and, you get stuck behind a couple of buggies on a Saturday morning, and it's like
yeah, that's the last time I was out that way in Lancaster. It's you get behind a couple. It's one buggy after another because there's more than just like your neighbors where I live. There's a couple towns here and there, and everywhere I go, no matter what, you end up interacting in some fashion with these buggies on the roads. But out that way, it's very pronounced. It's
Oh
difficult.
yeah.
I'm surprised there aren't more accidents like that I witnessed. And
Mm.
yeah, it's just it blows my mind that there's all these like laws with our vehicles, and it's like here, you guys can just sit here on this buggy, fit as many babies as you want on it too. It doesn't matter. There's no car seats or anything.
Right.
It drives me nuts. And the poop that doesn't get picked up off the road. Ah, man, I'm gonna derail this just ranting about Amish people. So I gotta, I gotta stop. But,
I read a horror
uh,
film about it.
yeah, but that's haunting. Like I mean, I don't know how long that's been. Probably I don't know, 6 months, 8 months, something like that. And it's like I could still see that like it happened. Yeah, watching a tractor trailer to just pulverize an Amish buggy. 'Cause,
Mm,
we looked it up. One of the people on in there obviously died,
mm.
and I guess one of them lived or was in critical condition. I stopped following it because, like, man, that's I witnessed that. It's kind of again, you get back to that phases of death thing where like you see that when you're young, and it's like, oh man, yeah, that's wicked. But now, like, man, I wish I could Men in Black flashy brain thing deneuralize myself of having witnessed it.
Yeah. What's
But
up, defense mechanisms?
but we are at 53 minutes, and I don't want to go too much longer. I always like to have people come back and have multiple conversations versus a really long one that we might lose or drop off or lose something in editing. So at this time, I want to go ahead and I want you to have a few moments to reiterate to anybody listening, where they can find your stuff. We do have your links and everything on our screen, but there is a population of fans who just listen to the show and don't check the videos out. So the floor is yours to go ahead and promote, plug your stuff.
Dig it. Thank you. And thanks for having me on. Faces of the Undead anthology, 2 parts. And the root of Faces of the Undead is really based in a message about the struggles of mental illness, mental health, and addiction, for characters who literally cannot define what is real and what is not. And it's a very comes from a very personal point for myself, in those genre in that genre. And it is a horror film. It's a multiple watch. You can watch it and hopefully you're entertained in one place, and then you watch it again, the left lane, and you start to pick up a lot of the subtleties in the dialogue, in the character relationships, and the fact that we have cast members playing dual roles, and that continues into part two. Part one takes place in a club in New Orleans during their 100th year anniversary, and Dr. Asher begins to tell some of the history of the club, which triggers the character I'm portraying. And he starts to see things differently and people differently. So it's a little disjointed, it's a little confusing, and that is very intentional because we want the viewer to be in the same position as the characters. Not sure if this is happening, if it's in its head, or did that really just happen? And we kind of bring you back and forth. Part two picks up in a facility, again modern day, where they're looking to hopefully figure out what's going on with some of these characters, mine, the one I portray, and get them some help. So kind of the log line for that one is are these treatments and what they're doing helping him, or are they exasperating and contributing to the condition, or is there something really darker here altogether? So part two is if you think part one's kind of all over the place, part two is really, really out there. And again, you guys have all the things written out. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, our crowdfunder, and that's crowdfunder, FUNDR, not DER. That'll take you to a whole completely different site. Things Forsaken, our main website there. If you want to check out Sobral Studio, you can find that as well on the net and on Facebook. I've got more pages. Join our fans of the Things Forsaken Storytime Just Got Real group on Facebook. We get a lot of updates for everything there. You can interact with us. And also the fan page for Faces of the Undead. So, guys, thanks a lot for having me on. I really appreciate it, and getting all the plugs in here like that.
Absolutely. It was almost too many links for me to even fit in the little texting down there. I had to concatenate a little bit. But it was awesome having you on, and I'm gonna be listening to some Hungarian death metal tonight on my way to sleep. Drew, final words.
I just started following the Facebook group that you plugged there a second ago, so I will be keeping an eye out on that
Dig it.
uh, moving forward. And yeah, man, I appreciate you coming on. It had some technical difficulties and rescheduling and everything, but
Yes,
you know,
thank
we
you
did
for
it.
the patience.
You know, everybody check it out. It's a cool dude who you know, took time to talk to us, and you know, definitely unique. And so I'm happy to have had an opportunity to help promote in any way, shape, or form. So yeah, man, that's gonna wrap it. And you know, we do have an outro. It's not long. Feel no need to sit through it if you don't want to. It's you know, 10 seconds anyway.
8.
But 8. Okay, so there you go.
Links for everything will be in the audio and the video descriptions for everything we do. So, all right. Thank you, Ferenc. It's been awesome.
Thank you, guys.